So welcome to my pitch for my program, The Undiscovered. The Undiscovered aims to explore, to find, to discover, to uncover, and to introduce. So let me give you a quick overview of what I'm going to be discussing in this pitch presentation. I'm going to talk about the intended demographic I intend to reach, and by which means I want to reach them. You've got to bear a lot of things in mind, the kind of music they like, the kind of things they get up to, the kind of things they want to hear. Content-wise as well, you've got to have things that they understand and enjoy listening to. So we've got a lot of content in the show that I'm going to be talking about that is suited to them. We have a known format, but we've changed it a lot. So I'm going to be talking about how our format differs from others of its kind, how listeners can benefit from our show, what they can learn, what they can take away, and why giving them a reason to tune in. And ultimately, I'm going to talk about our goals and what we want to achieve. So what's the big idea about The Undiscovered? What's the significance? Well, we play a lot of new music, but we've changed the format. A lot of new music shows will play you a song by a new band, and they'll tell you maybe the new album, when it's out, where you can get it, what the band are doing, if they're on tour. You only hear limited information like that, maybe a bit about the record label. But we go the extra mile in finding new artists who are unsigned and introducing them. It's all done through YouTube and internet space. And what we do is we take a live audience setting and put the artists in front of that in what we call a live lounge section, which is where we, instead of another band coming in and doing a cover of another song, we have the artist of that week who's on the show, the new artist, doing a performance of their new song in a live session. They can strip it down and make it acoustic, or they can perform it normally. We also want to make the listeners feel as though there's something in it for them, so we want to be very interactive. We've got a game, and we are always monitoring the Twitter and Facebook and text feeds, and we have a shout-out segment that kind of acknowledges that people have got in contact with the show. We also have content that educates listeners, that gives them something to teach them based on the activities that a lot of them in our demographic get up to. By having unsigned artists on the show who are very young, the same age as the target audience, we want to inspire people, because if they see or hear people of their age doing something and getting themselves out there, being proactive, then that will be inspiring for them, so they can aspire to be like the people they listen to. So let's talk more about the content. Let's start with news nuggets. These are short sections of news that's very orientated to our young demographic. So it's going to be based, it's a bit like BBC Three's 60-second news, where it's all about sport and celebrities. Of course, we'll have some main headlines in there, but people of that demographic won't want to hear too much on that, so we've given a celebrity music focus on that. The live band section I talked to you about, it gives the new artist who's on the show that week to perform in front of an audience, and it gives the audience something as well. We've also thrown in a few studio plays, which is just playing more new music, but not in a live setting. We figured that if we have a live and studio kind of combination, it would jazz it up a bit. And again, that's done through YouTube, based on the number of views different videos of new music have. We also have a Vox Pop section that promotes the artist we showcase that week, where we go out into the streets and ask people of the demographic if they've heard of this person. We'll play them a short section of their music, and that way it's a win-win, because the artist gets promoted and gets someone else who's heard of them, and the person we play the music to gets to hear about another artist who will then maybe go on to look into that person more. On Have I Got News For You, and as an app for different internet services, there's a game called 4 Pictures, 1 Word, which is where 4 pictures are shown and they all have a connection on Have I Got News For You. Of course, there's a very comical take of that. But what we've done is we've got 4 songs, 1 connection. So we'll play clips of different songs, all of which have got something in common. So maybe lyrical content, maybe the same person wrote them. And that's going to be interactive so that listeners can tune in and call in and say what the connection is, and audience members can play along as well. Now the shout-out feature I was talking about, we wanted it so that people getting in contact with us don't just, we wanted to be able to read out more names. So we've got like a kind of 30-second long tennis-like shout-out section. It's like a quick filler where 2 presenters will each shout out a name. So one presenter will shout out one name, another presenter another, and it will go on like that for 30 seconds. And they'll shout as many names as they can. We also have a top 10 songs section, which works a little bit like Top of the Pops' top songs, where it's again going to be new music based on hits on YouTube, and we'll play the songs hooks as just a quick summary to get more new music out there by, again, unsigned artists. We also have the Lucky Caller section. The artist on our show, whatever week, will get to speak to a random member of the public. That member of the public will get to know the artist, they'll get to find out a bit more about each other, and the caller will get to wish the artist luck in their endeavours. We also have an interview section. We figured that in our demographic a lot of people are into music production, and now that we're kind of a market of prosumers, we thought it would be good to have something on that. So what we've done is at the end of the show we have interviews with artists and music producers who will give advice on the music industry as a business, how to succeed, what not to do, and also emphasise the kind of work you have to put in, because it's not as easy as just uploading a track to the internet and hoping you get famous. There's more work behind it. And we figured if a lot of people are interested in that, why not do something on it? Now, I've spoken a lot about the demographic, but I've not actually said who they are. Well, we wanted to present on, we thought that given the type of music we're going to be playing and the type of people we're going to try and reach, we want to present on 1 extra. And we figured that we need to get in contact, in touch with the demographic, not only by playing the music, but by having presenters who are familiar in the field. So for example, Trevor Nelson is very good with a lot of urban music, which we'll be playing, hip-hop, drum and bass, etc. But Fern Cotton is very good with new music, so together we thought they'd make a good team. And Fern Cotton is also very good with celebrity culture, so we'll help out with the celebrity news theme that will be throughout the show. We also wanted a good evening vibe, so we figured presenting from 7 till 8 on 1 extra will provide a good going out preparation vibe, or whether someone wants to stay in, they can listen in. But why is the Undiscovered worth discovering? Well, I've talked about how we differ from the usual format of new music shows. We've got that, which we actually took inspiration from Radio 4. So you've got shows like Just a Minute or the News Quiz where there's a live audience there, and we, instead of it being pre-recorded, we thought we would actually be live, and Radio 4 is where that idea came from. I've talked about the Vox Pop section, the promoting the artist based theme throughout the show. We're very proactive with that in our nature, and it just shows we're going the extra mile again than other shows of our format. And our interviews and our news we want to educate people with, so that's another reason that we're worth discovering. Finally, our interactive content, like in a good radio show, we need to make the listeners, like I say, feel they mean something, kind of give that kind of family radio vibe, and just let them know that we've received their contact. But who exactly is doing what? Well, Chris Smith, being a good Radio 1 news voice, we wanted him to provide the news, of course, with a music and celebrity and sport take, which is where we figured Fern Cotton could come in, given her celebrity, knowledge of celebrity culture. But of course, Fern Cotton will be helping Trevor Nelson. They'll be sharing most of the work of the show between them. Fern Cotton will be doing, for example, the news on her own, the celebrity news, Trevor Nelson will be doing the Vox Pops, but it's going to be all shared between them at the end. Jamal Edwards, however, we thought was a very good interviewer. He's usually very calm. He's interviewed a lot of people. He's interviewed the Prime Minister. So we thought that if he's interviewing high figures like that, then music producers and artists wouldn't be too much of a problem for him. So, in conclusion, what are the aims and goals of ours and what we want to achieve with our show? Well, I've talked about our interviews and the news. That's going to advise people. We want to educate them, and by having young people who are of the same age as the demographic on the show, and they're all unsigned musicians and they're doing well and they've got you know, a future ahead of them, we figured that that would inspire people who can then be aspired and do something similar themselves. We'll be exploring, finding new people, finding new music, discovering, hence the name of our show. So that's another goal of ours. We figured as well that having a format that isn't too unfamiliar, that it's, you know, scary, that it's not too familiar, that it's boring to listen to, that if we adapt the usual format, that add in new things like the live audience, etc., it will instill more of an interest in people and we'll get more listeners that way. Thank you for listening. That's the end of the presentation, and here are my references. I'm now taking questions.
Thank you, Nick. So this is a one extra show to be broadcast between 7 and 8 p.m, co-hosted by Trevor Nelson and Farron Cotton.
Yes.
What day of the week or days of the week does this go out?
Friday.
Friday. And along with Farron Cotton, you're also going to have Jamal Edwards on the payroll?
Yes.
Do you anticipate there being any cost issue with having three relatively big? I mean, Jamal Edwards runs a multi-million pound business. Do you anticipate there being any cost element here?
We figured that we'd be able to cover that, and also if we're getting a lot of listeners and feedback, then we want to balance cost with getting in touch, with the audience. So we think we can cover that.
Okay. How big an audience does One Extra have?
It's about 3,000–4,000 people tuning in at least once a day around the country. It's not as big as Radio 1, and of course One Extra being on a digital platform, we recognise that we may not get as many listeners, but with the digital switchover, that means that people won't have a choice to listen to FM or AM anymore. They'll have to listen to One Extra. So we think we can get more listeners in the future.
Okay, and this is a show focusing on, like say, Undiscovered and all new music.
Yeah.
How will this link in with what BBC Radio 1 especially does with their new music, the introducing setup that's currently there?
Well, our focus is on unsigned artists, people who really haven't got out there, and what we're doing is finding them ourselves, and that's based on, again, like on YouTube, the internet, and finding new people.
Okay. Are you aware of what introducing does? That it's a way for new artists to upload.
Yeah.
Unsigned people can go and upload their songs and then have producers listen to them, and with a view to feeding into. So you're not going to do anything along with that network. You're just going to have. How are you going to find these artists then? How have you got? Through
YouTube accounts, and going out there, just looking for people. I mean, we're more specific in our choice of music and the people we want to target.
Okay. So who's doing this looking? Do you have a series of broadcast assistants, or
who's doing the what? Sorry.
Who's doing the looking for the new music? Who is actually going through YouTube looking for these new acts? Who's somebody will be paid to do that? How many people will be doing that?
That'll be Hannah and I, the producers.
Okay, so you've got two full-time broadcast assistants / broadcast journalists.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you anticipate you can afford Farron Cotton?
We are confident we can, yeah.
Okay, okay. And what's happening on Radio 1 on a Friday night between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m?
Annie Mac.
Annie Mac. Fantastic. Nick, thank you very much.
Not at all. A split second, I was worried I wouldn't be able to start. Like, so, welcome to the... Oh, what am I going to do about my assignment that I